Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation of Harnessing the Power of NetPoint and Project Summit for Seamless Manufacturing and Infrastructure Project Delivery. Let's first talk about the agenda. So the first item is going to be the power of GPM and how we can use this powerful tool to improve the way we present the information to our clients.
The benefits of the innovation tools, why it is important to summarize a schedule and how to achieve it.
Interactive planning sessions and why it is important to plan in the very early stages of a project.
The critical path analysis, how the tools that we have in our arsenal allow us to do deep dives to the critical path and near critical path.
Detailed planning and how we can use these tools. This tool let us analyze different what-if scenarios to represent a risk and how we can mitigate those risks.
Schedule assessment, how we can create models for risk assessment analysis, third-party review of schedules, and claim analysis.
And finally, we want to show a live demonstration on how simply it is to use these tools, especially the live demonstration is going to be Project Summit. And hopefully we can show you all the important things and powerful things that we can do. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Eduardo Nazario. I'm a managing director for the Southeast operations of PMA. I'm a civil engineer. I graduated from Purdue University. It's been 29 years since I've been working in product management and product controls. 20 of those, the last 20 in PMA. And my main expertise is the pharmaceutical industry, manufacturing, transportation, and utilities.
My name is Ray Diaz. I have been in the industry for over 20 years. Last 3 years, I have been with PMA. I have been on both sides of the table throughout my career, dealing at the contractor side or the owner side in different types of projects for different types of engagements. And one thing that I want to bring to the table is I'm always looking for ways to break information silos, and the tools that we are going to show today are pretty accurate to do that.
Okay, perfect. Let's start by showing you the power of GPM. So what is GPM? GPM is the graphical path method. It is an alternative to what we schedulers and project managers have known as the critical path method, which is a project management technique that is used to create an accurate project schedule. GPM is a graphical and visualization method that has an innovative algorithm used in project management for planning and scheduling. What differentiates GPM from the others is its groundbreaking self-healing algorithm that enables you to take full controls of all the schedule activities in your project. When you move an activity in a network, it uses GPM uses its automatic correction, in this case, the self-healing algorithm, and the result is a dynamic preservation of the logic. What does it mean? Well, you are seeing, when you move an activity, you are seeing all the real-time calculations instantly at the same time. Let me show you here. This is an example of a GPM schedule. In this case, we're using NetPoint in this example. And the important thing that I want you to take out from this is that this tool is promoting a rapid, there's no lag time, a collaborative. You can be presenting this schedule and doing the update in front of a group of people. And finally, inform project planning, like I was saying, you're gonna see the results of any changes or any update that you're doing right away in front of the screen. That's right.
The benefits of our innovation tools. Today, we're going to speak about two tools that we have in our arsenal. The first one is NetPoint. To the left, this tool has been in the market for roughly 15 years. And then the new kit in the block, Project Summit, which has been in development for the past 3 years, and it is currently in active development. This is the one that we will portray later on as a live feature of it. The benefits of our innovation tools, why it is important to create summary schedules. First of all, we live in a pretty fast-paced environment. Being able to visually explain to stakeholders the issues of a particular project in a snapshot makes us really proactive in helping them assess the problems in the projects. We can also create or build summary schedules models to use in risk assessment and undertakings. The way that we use our tools to portray to the stakeholders how to recover in terms of delay and how to make things go the right way when things don't work that way. We also use the tool to create one-page schedule summaries that can be attached to a progress report, and we do those summaries in both tools, NetPoint and Summit. We also use the tools to perform as planned versus as built delay analysis and claims presentations. We will see a couple of those examples today.
Okay, how can we achieve a good project summary schedule, right? Well, how big a schedule will vary on the size and the duration of a project. A common integrated project schedule in a manufacturing or in a renovation project usually contains between 2,000 to 3,000 activities. Let's say a transit mega project or an industry, let's say a program schedule that has different projects in it, that can regularly exceed, let's say, 10,000 activities. As you may have seen in other presentations in this conference, that it could be up to 15,000 activities, doesn't matter. But what I want you to gather is what is the integrated schedule. It's a schedule called when you combine all the different phases of a project, which is from the design, procurement, construction, commissioning, qualification, and in manufacturing or in pharmaceutical, we have the process validation also. All those schedules usually come from different vendors, and you usually have a person that integrates them all into one, and that's what we call the integrated schedule. Well, this integration between all these different schedules, as a lot of people probably here knows, is very difficult, it's complex, and it's very time consuming. Using other softwares like P6 from Microsoft Project, well, it's even more difficult if the different vendors are using different softwares. For example, one in P6, the one in Microsoft Project. What we want to show you is how we as a PMA are using these tools, NetPoint and Project Summit, to make easier this integration. But most importantly, how these tools simplify the communication that we're showing, the way we're showing, and making the stakeholders understand the schedule. And finally, how easy it is to navigate the critical path and near critical path details into it.
The benefits of NetPoint. NetPoint, as we are going to repeat this a couple of times, is a highly visual tool. It allows you to do things on a digital canvas in such a way that it is incredible. I mean, you have to say that we will see something later on about that. It has planning all into it. everything is calculated on real time. It's a need to do level 1, level 2 management examples or executive schedule summaries for your presentations. It allows you to do those in a pretty short amount of time. It portrays the critical path schedule and the near critical path in a way that it conveys or communicates what's really driving the different areas of the project. And it doesn't require a lot of knowledge in those arenas to understand what's happening at the project level. Using the GPM algorithm, it allows you to compress a lot of information in a short amount of time. In the next example, we're going to see it. You can see this is the canvas. It has a couple of swim lanes and a lot of information. But one of the features that we would like to highlight is how it allows to place multiple activities on one horizontal row. That allows you to compress a lot of information and at the same time let the stakeholders know how things are being impacted in the schedule. Changes are being done in real time. And as you can see, there is a lot of information in just a simple page. Here, you can see that we can work in 3 different modes. We can work on the GPM mode, work towards the early days, and work towards the late days. And those are things that are integrated into the tool and allow us to do different types of scenarios.
And one thing, you can actually see how it moves. Yeah. Very, very interactive, so good. So let's talk about the benefit now of Project Summit. I think the start or the more important thing that a Project Summit brings is the density zooming. You can have a higher level schedule, right? That portrays very limited information, because a higher level schedule, let's say a level 1, will give you a lot of summary activities, but won't show you that detail behind it. What Project Summit let us do is go deep dive into that detail inside the same, just by we're going to be able to expand several summaries schedules and show them the detail behind it. So another thing, instant conversion. You can take a XCR file, a Primavera schedule, and bring the whole detail, the whole schedule, including all the details inside that schedule, into a Project Summit within seconds. We're going to show you that in the live version. You're going to be able, this is another key feature that I really love, which is you're going to be able to modify the timeline. What this does is using what we call the time scale split. If you've been in a pharmaceutical or manufacturing project, you know that usually the design, then construction, and then commissioning, you can usually show it in months, because it can take within 1 to 2 years. But then if you want to show the process validation, the qualification and process validation, just the actual filing into FDA, one activity can take 6 to 12 months, and it's very difficult to then try to fit it into one page if you cannot modify the time scale on top. Well, with Project Summit, you can do that. And finally, how easy to perform analyzing schedules, right? With these tools. I mean, especially Project Summit. Project Summit instantly will highlight what are the driving logic for any activity, not only a critical path, but any activity. The good thing is that it will show different colors. For the critical activity, it will show red. For the near critical, it will show orange, and the other ones, it will show in green. So you're going to be able to see that. Besides that, Summit has all the details that the other programs have, like a detailed table that shows the predecessor successors. You can use filters. You're going to see all those information in our live version. So what are the challenges of manually summarizing? As many of us have tried to do, take a P6 schedule and summarize that schedule, let's say a 7,000 activity schedule, into one page or into, let's say, two pages. Is very difficult unless you actually take only a summary. Usually when you want to do this type of summarizations, yet you want to summarize certain phases, but you want to actually provide details inside the critical path, or still in that one page. So using the key feature, which is density zooming, we're gonna be able to do that using Summit. Okay, let me show you. This is really a schedule already converted from P6 into a Project Summit. As you can see here, you can see on the left-hand side, we can see the WBS. I'm talking about, this is a very detailed activities for a certain area inside a 7,000 activity schedule. We're talking about a room, and look at the detail behind it. Well, instantly you can go ahead and all that rooms or all that information that goes into the construction, you can actually show it. Right now it's inside this summary bar, but you can actually show everything that goes into construction in one page, and even go into a very high summary level, which this will be what we call level 1. This will have all the phases of that 7,000 activities. All right. We have here the design, we have the construction, we even have the filing, the actual commercial, what we call filing into FDA activities, all into one. This is something that is done instantly, and it's very difficult to show with other softwares.
Now, interactive planning sessions. Remember, or if you have been to a big job with multiple contractors working on it, you will be seeing a lot of interactive planning sessions, getting all the stakeholders or all the different owners of the different processes or areas of the project in a big white room and trying to get all the pieces to fit together. As you can see, we are able to summarize and distill a lot of information in this digital canvas. We can allocate specific areas of interest to deal with in each particular session. The most important thing being that the longest or critical path is always being recalculated as soon as we move the different activities throughout the canvas. We take this as a deliverable, and we can then go into Project Summit and present it in a different way.
One of the things I want to highlight here is that I'm pretty sure a lot of you has participated in a lot of interactive planning session before. Well, the older guys like me and Ray remember how we used to do it, which is putting the post-it into a blackboard, right? And the thing with doing it the old way is that you couldn't see how those activities were impacting right away. You always put what the milestones, start date and end date, and what you think it was gonna look like. Then you have to wait until the schedule goes back into P6 and actually do all the calculation and all that. Using NetPoint, we do that in front of that live audience. we can do several scenarios, and they can actually see the logic between each activity, something that with the sticky notes you couldn't do. So yes, I mean, just wanted to point out that.
And this is the output from one of those sessions inserted into Project Summit. Project Summit allows to group activities or summarize activities in a different way. So that session can be further work in our new tool in the arsenal.
And it's gonna be very easy to follow, as you're gonna see in the next examples that I'm gonna give you. That's like Ray was saying, you're gonna be able to see the red, which is critical paths, the orange, which is near critical path activities, and you're gonna be able to see the green ones, which although are not near critical at this point, but you can move it around, and you're gonna be able to track what is the flow on all of them. So good. Then let's say when you want to do a critical path analysis, using NetPoint was very efficient, or is still very efficient, because you're gonna be able to take using NetPoint, you can import a P6 into NetPoint, but if it's a big schedule with NetPoint, you usually what you want to do is summarizes your way, and you actually develop it in a way that you can present certain details, like I was mentioning before. You see that there's certain areas here that are very summarized, but the detail, the critical paths, usually you want to show a little bit more detail into it. And this is one way of showing the stakeholders and make them understand. To be honest, there's a lot of people that are not used to P6, are not used to Microsoft Project, but doing it graphically this way, using GPM, it's, and this has been my experience, the feedback I have received is how easy it is for them to understand it. Not only the critical path, but the whole schedule and the logic between each different phases of the project. In this case, this is using Project Summit. What is the good thing, or how Project Summit improve, and why I think Project Summit is like the next phase of NetPoint, is because you can actually bring the whole activities. I'm talking about, like I've been saying, 7,000, 6,000. Bring the whole activities, and when you see it at first, it could be a little bit tough to swallow, because you're going to see a lot of activities. But then using Summit, you can actually start removing a lot of phases. You can actually be expanding and compressing certain areas or certain swim lanes to, at the end, show you what is the exact critical path. And it will, you can actually filter out only the critical path and show the stakeholders, you know what, all of this that you see, the 20 pages that you see in a schedule, this is the important part of it. And put it into, for example, that 7,000 activity schedule, I actually can put it into one page, but one page was very, very hard to read in that case. But you can actually do it in 3, 4, 5 different pages and actually show the flow of those critical paths. And to be honest, I mean, to understand a pretty big schedule like that, it is very difficult. It takes time. We people that have been working project control tend to take it as normal, but people that usually don't work with schedules, it's very tough. Well, this is this has been, and again, I already used this in several projects of mine, and the feedback has always been, for the first time, we have actually understood what the schedule is trying to present and what is the important thing in the schedule. So it's a powerful tool, I can tell you.
Detailed planning. Back in the day, I mean, we spoke about the sticky notes. After the pandemic, we are now used to doing virtual things. One of the neat things that I have been able to do is to do a detailed planning session live in a Teams Zoom meeting with a lot of stakeholders. In this particular case, we are showing an example where the owner of the process is discussing with the manufacturer of the particular product how his lead time could affect the rest of the process. And this is being done, I mean, in real time. You can do a couple of scenarios, drag and drop the activities, all at the same time having a full integrated schedule that allows everybody on the call to see how all the pieces fit together. In the next slide.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to show, remember what Ray just said. This was a meeting, right? That he had only by phone with several key members. Then what we can do, we can actually bring those results and put it only in Project Summit, and then have all the key stakeholders understand it, show their requirements, and then make sure that everybody is aligned with the projected date or the final date. That's as we have seen in project management, that always that alignment between all key stakeholders is one of the most important things you have to do. So
also another point, that same line of thought, is getting buy-in from the different owners of the schedule. I mean, everybody owns a different piece of the schedule. It's a big win when you are able to show them how all the different activities interact with each other. No hidden agendas. Everything is on the same page.
And finally, in a manufacturing building or a pharmaceutical building, usually the people, the end users, I mean, ideally you want to get them involved in the early design and during construction, but the reality is that most of the time that doesn't happen. So what you want to do to make sure is use this type of tool so that the end user can capture it, all the information right away.
Schedule assessment. We use the tools in our arsenal, the tools that we have mentioned today, to do risk assessment, third-party schedule reviews, and claims analysis. In the next slide, we will see a full schedule that was developed by one of our members to model all the activities to do a risk assessment session. The model is pretty interactive, it's highly visual, and you can distill a lot of information in one page, which allows everybody to see how the different pieces of the puzzle interact with each other. We also use as seen in the next slide, we use the tool for third-party reviews. In this case, we have two different owners of two different processes, seeing how all the different pieces fit together, and we can show how the different portions or areas of each process interact with each other. In this case, I mean, when we do a third-party review, one of the things that we do, we use this schedules to show how bottlenecks of certain processes or of key personnel can happen by overlaying an histogram with this chart. And it is pretty interactive, pretty awesome. It's one of the best tools that I have seen in my scheduled life.
And following on what Ray said, on the, let's say on a process validation or on a qualification portion, usually you have several people that are executing those protocols, right? The problem is that, as you can see, we use this also to compare and to make sure that the resources are aligned. What happened? That usually you could have 3 or 4 protocols running at the same time, but at the end, it's only one quality person that approves all those protocols. Well, if you see that in a week or this month, you're gonna have 10 different protocols, that quality is gonna be approving, those protocols probably gonna get delayed. So that's the thing, another thing that this helps, and we actually share with the client.
In a claims analysis scenario, I mean, there are a lot of projects, highly interactive, lots of moving pieces. For example, on a design build a couple of years ago, I had more or less this type of event where we were starting the project and we knew that the owner had some issues with the relocation of certain lines that needed to be out of the way for us to work on one particular section of this bridge. At the beginning, it wasn't an issue. I mean, if the owner could do the relocations in 2 months, the project schedule will not be impacted. Nevertheless, as we gather more information, and this is prior to actually being on the project, we realized that the team from the owner was forecasting 100 days, and we were able to distill that into what will happen with the rest of the project if the relocations were not made in time. One thing that I want to portray is that, as you can see, the full schedule is in play in each of the different scenarios, and how that particular area of the project became a secondary critical path.
Okay, so now let's go and to show you guys what actually let's do an actual live scenario, right? Let me just open here Project Summit. Let me share this screen. Let me know if you guys are seeing my screen. Can share screen? Okay, here we go. So share. Okay, here we go. So this is a Project Summit. When you open, can you see?
Yes,
right?
we are able
okay.
to see.
Okay, so the first thing that we want to do, right? When we're bringing up an actual schedule, let's bring an actual schedule, right? So let's import it here. We go to import in the left-hand side, and we can go into, I have actually here created an example of a schedule. So we have it here. Let me just do this, open, and you see right away, okay, there you go. It quickly imported. All right, you just hit okay, and here's the whole schedule. As you can see, it's very detailed. Like I told you, the first time you see it, it could be a little bit overwhelming. So the first thing that we want to do is right click here and do what we call zoom to fit. Look what it does. Instantly, it's creating a level 1 summary schedule just by hitting that clicking that one time. So you're saying, okay, so this project is from 2021 to 2023. Okay, now I want to go into, let's say, into the actual construction. Well, the first thing, let's go back and expand, right? And one of the things that I like to do first is what I was discussing, the split, the timeline split. So I right click on, again, on the canvas. And if you see here, it says add time split. You just add it here. And I usually put one around that data date. This here, this blue line is the actual data date. This is an ongoing schedule. And what you can do when you split that schedule, look at this timeline here. You see, I'm expanding this timeline now in month. This was in quarter, but you're going to go for a little bit further by reducing this all the way here. Why? So we can add more information into the page. So another thing that I want to do is add another split. It's not only one. You can add as many split, timeline split as you want. So, for example, I add another one here in order to show now when I'm expanding or compressing this timeline, I'm doing it in the actual canvas of the project, the actual duration of the project. So now what I want to do, I actually want to go into, I'm lowering, as you can see on the left-hand side, you're going to see all the WBS. If you open any of these WS, guys, it's going to then show you the detail behind it. And you can always go back and hide it, right? But what I actually want to show you here, let me go back. Let me hide the design here. I actually want to go into the demo pricing. Let me hide this one. I actually want to go into construction. So this is procurement. This is construction here. So let's see. You can actually see this is the summary level schedule already for the construction. You can open it here and actually go into, I want to look at the, let's see which one. I had one here. Hold on, let me see. We can go to, okay, yes, let's go into the final. Yeah, okay, let's go into the actual envelope. As you can see here, another thing that we can do is we are compressing here and we are expanding here on the timeline above, but you can do the same thing here in the WBS. And I should have done that at the very beginning so I can see the actual detail behind it. But let's say that now, for example, we can go, I'm trying to look for the end date. All right, we go here, you expand it, and you see all these activities that are orange. What does that mean? They are near critical activity, usually are less than 10 days of float. But what we want to see is, okay, where are those critical activities? Let me just go down here. All right, sorry, it went up a little bit too much. Okay, now here. Okay, here we go. So as you see, I just want to see this information here I actually want to work around only this information here because this is where a critical path. I can create another timeline split here. And again, I can continue to expand this into more, and then it's easy as to move this so you can continue to follow up your schedule here. Then The thing that I want to show you now is how you can actually see, and this is something that we guys have already discussed in here. If you go to any activity, let's say for now, this is the end date of this activity, and you go up here and hit the highlight driving logic button, look at what it does. It would actually gray out everything else and just show you that critical path or that path that is driving the actual critical path, right? So if I undo that, I can do that not only for the critical path, I can do the same for near critical paths, as you can see here. And when you're here, you can even go into an activity here and then just see what are those activities that are driving that timeline. For example, here, the activities that is driving my activity is the ones highlighted here. But going back here, this is a critical path. So what else can we do here? Well, we can also open here the height and details table. As you can see here, any activity that you choose here, it will come up here and it will show you all the predecessors and all the successors, and all this area will have their different columns that you can right click here and you can customize what information you want to show and what you don't want to see. And at the same thing, you can then, besides doing it using this highlight driving logic, you can actually follow it here also. And you can go into an activity that has many here. For example, you can go as these predecessors and see that you have 3 activities. Which one is driving? Well, the driving is going to show here, right? But you can then go ahead here in the total flow. You can also sort it by it. So it's, again, it's very powerful tool. Another thing that this feature has is that, let's say that this this MEP finishes, it's being delayed. You can go ahead here and move the activity, and you're gonna see how that movement is impacting. In this case, now let me do another one because that one didn't show it. Okay, so you can actually move the activities here and see how they can become critical and how how can, if you mitigate, you can then bring them back and see what are the results of that activity getting improved or not. At this point, I know it's 43 minutes already, so I want to take any questions. We want to go ahead and take any questions so we can be able to answer before we finish it.
Great, thank you. The first question that we have is, what are the current challenges that you face when working on an interactive planning session today using the software?
To be honest, this will help us a lot. I can tell you a lot of challenges I had in the past using the sticky notes, or now those challenges, to be honest, the only challenge I can think of is that the owners seeing the actual results right away, they like you to give your final analysis the next day, because they say, but it's already created and all the information is right there. So to be honest, that's the only challenge. Maybe another challenge would be if you're doing that planning session, you can pre-plan and create several of the activities that you know you're going to be using. If again, if you don't have a schedule already developed, you can pre-plan and create those activities, and during that planning session, just lay them in the canvas. So yes.
Great,
What
thank
others?
you.
Mhm.
The next question is the Primavera P6 schedule imported into NetPoint, or is the schedule built from scratch in NetPoint?
Okay, you can actually import it, a schedule, and we have done it. The thing is that if the schedule is over 500 activities, it tends to be very slow. So when we're using NetPoint, especially for a risk analysis session, we usually develop that new schedule so we can actually, I think that helps you, and I like about developing it is that you're actually reviewing at the same time that you're building it up, you're reviewing all those logic. Then that's using NetPoint, but using Project Summit, you don't need to develop anything because it's already converted here. What you need to do is just modify here what you want to show or what you want to discuss. Or what you want to do is filter out any of the areas and then summarize what you don't think is critical. So yeah, hope that answered the question.
Of course, thank you very much. It looks like that is all the questions we have in the chat as of right now. Do you have any final words for our attendees?
Yes, I mean, another thing that I didn't do in this case, but wanted to show you if we have a little bit more time in here, you go here and you can actually do what we call the filters. And you can actually create a filter here by hitting this plus sign here. It says create new filter. Right, and you can, sorry, I actually here, okay. And then you go here and you rename that, let's say, I want to show only one room. So you can put the name that you want. Then in here, you will choose anything that you want. You don't want to choose the summaries because I actually want to filter the actual detail. So I choose all the milestone or benchmarking or activities. I'll go here. Oh. Okay. And I'll go in here. You can select anything of this information that you want to filter per. You can filter per WBS. You can filter activities per flow, per description, per ID. Let's take WBS, for example, and in here, you're going to select. You're going to select here and choose equals to, for example, let's say, and here you select the value that you want it equal to. Let's go into construction area. And let's say, let's go and show, let's say, the MDF room to see if that comes up. It will go up here. So here's the MDF room. Then in this case, this one didn't have, sorry, this one didn't have activities. You have to make sure that you don't have, in this case, you don't have any filters before creating this. But you go here and let's choose the fit up, for example, and then hit, you have to do, hold on, this one. I don't know, my computer is now, let me choose again. Okay, let me hit clear the filters and then choose the filter again. There we go. And up. And in any live version, as you can see, is not it's not showing me now. I choose the wrong one. I choose equal to. I want to choose, since I'm using WBS, I want to choose what is under. So here's the filter. You see, it's showing everything that is under the fit up. And I mean, that's it. Any other questions, Ray? Anything that you want to?
As a closing exhortation to anyone who has attended this session or sees the recording, if you want to really make your life easier, make the life of others easier, you need to try this innovative approach to summarizing schedules. I haven't seen anything in the market as neat as this. Again, this is a tool that is in active development, but I would go back to the Nike logo or the Nike campaign a couple of years ago. Just do it. Just download the free demo and give it a try. For some exercises, NetPoint is the tool to go today. For other types of analysis, you have Summit, and Summit is being actively developed.
Very good. Thank you both, Eduardo and Ray. This completes our presentation. Please join us at 2 p.m. for master schedule development and management using NetPoint. Thank you all.